So, just a little introduction to this video. I've been studying under the Ascended Masters for a few months now, and particularly the dispensations that have been given to the messenger of Kim Michaels. And this, what I'm about to read to you, is from one of his websites called ascendedmasteranswers.com. So here it is. How to improve your discernment. Question. This question is about inner guidance. Many people listen to their inner voices in the forms of intuition, inspiration, or direction from within. I wonder if these inner voices are really from my Christ self, or my I Am Presence, or the Ascended Masters. I believe sometimes the voices are perhaps from entities or other spiritual beings who try to control us. I may wrongly assume that voices of the latter case are coming from the Christ self or the I Am Presence. What is the standard we need to know in order to not be deceived by these harmful beings? And could you tell us what we should do to improve our discernment? Answer from the Ascended Master Mother Mary through Kim Michaels. This answer was given at a conference in Korea in 2019. It is very important, if you want to have good inner direction, that you give invocations and decrees for your spiritual protection, for being cut free from lower forces, and therefore you have a shield around you that makes it more difficult for lower forces to project into your force field. However, as we've said before, decrees cannot work against your intent. So you may call for Archangel Michael's protection, but if you have a tie to some lower force, then the protection cannot work against that, because you have, at some point that you are not necessarily consciously aware of, chosen to create that opening. And so what you need to be aware of in order to improve your discernment is whether what you get from within tells you what you want to hear or tells you what you need to hear. You will see that there are many, many people who are asking for inner guidance, or who are praying for help, or praying for some kind of guidance from above, but they are not truly open to an answer. They have in their minds a certain filter or a certain intent for what they would like the answer to be. So basically, you could say that the more open you are, the more neutral you are, the more accurate your inner guidance, and the more you improve the possibility that you get that guidance from your I Am Presence, your Christ self, or your ascended teachers. Now, what we say as a general rule is that we of the Ascended Masters have total respect for free will. We do not, as a general rule, tell you what to do. We give you a frame of reference for making better choices. You understand that if you look at this historically, you will see that previous Ascended Master dispensations like Summit Lighthouse and before have had different views of this. They did not mention Summit Lighthouse. That is me, because I know of previous dispensations that I am not as familiar with as I am with this. This is my first contact with the Masters officially. And this ties in with the fact that there was a lower collective consciousness at the time. And at that certain dispensation, those were given primarily for people in the Piscean age, and were not yet directed so much for people in the Aquarian age, in the Aquarian mindset. So these people tended to look at life and the path in terms of there were certain outer steps you needed to take, certain outer initiations you needed to pass, and there was a certain outer result you needed to achieve. And therefore, many people had this sort of mechanical view that there was a certain path that was laid out for them, and that they had to follow it. And therefore, they were asking for guidance to help them follow that path in an almost mechanical way. In other words, this ties in with what was said yesterday about the people who didn't want to take responsibility for themselves. Pardon my unclear. So there are people who are following the spiritual path, and even in Ascended Master teachings, who do not want to take responsibility for making their own decisions. G. So they want to have some kind of inner guidance that can give them clear directions on what to do, and these directions are infallible. In other words, they can't make a mistake if they follow these directions, so they think. And this, of course, is not the way we work as ascended masters. We realize very well that our goal is not to produce a specific outer result or have you do things in the outer, in the physical. Our primary goal is to help you raise your consciousness. How do you raise your consciousness? By making decisions, experiencing the consequences, adjusting your mindset based on those decisions. That's how you grow. So if we were to tell you what to do, how would that help you grow? We may give you certain directions, but most of the time, what we would prefer to do is to give you a frame of reference. This messenger realized that even as a child, he had a sense that there was a divine spiritual presence that was always there with him, but it didn't tell him what to do. It just provided a frame of reference because he had the vibration of this spiritual being, and he could compare that vibration to the vibration of anything he encountered in the material world to see what was a higher vibration and what was a lower vibration. This is true self-empowerment. My God. So this is how we prefer to work with people. There may be certain instances where people are not open to this, and we may give them some direction that they can hear. But if we continue to do this over time, then we see over and over again that people become codependent on the inner direction. They do not want to make decisions. They want to get the direction. Hello, Summer. Woo! I've been in a program. I've been in a 12-step program around codependency for over a year and it's been almost 2 years at this point. It's actually, I'm coming up on 2 years. Wow, time flies. And so you can always see that if you look at previous Ascended Master dispensations, how you have this certain unhealthy culture that can creep in where people will be able to justify anything they do by saying, oh, my I am presence told me to do this, or El Moria told me to do this. And this, of course, is where, again, if people have this strong desire to have validation for what they think they should do, what they have decided with the outer mind they should do, well, then they seek to get that validation, and they might tune into some imposter of the masters in the mental realm, or even in the emotional realm. And they will feel that they have now gotten direction from an ascended master that validates their human desires. You also saw an unhealthy aspect where there were people who asked, for example, a previous messenger to tell them whom to marry. Should I marry this person? I think he's talking about Summit Lighthouse right now. Or Mother Mary is, excuse me. They asked, for example, a previous messenger to tell them whom to marry. Should I marry this person? And so now you have two people who have been told by the messenger that they can marry. Perhaps they have even been told that they are twin flames. And now they think that since they have been given direction from the masters of whom to marry, it should be happily ever after. And so they think that their relationship should be easy and idyllic. And then when they realize that their relationship is just like any other relationship, it requires work, it requires adaptation, it requires you are willing to work on yourself, then they become disappointed. Sometimes they become angry, and sometimes they blame the messenger or they blame the masters. You also saw that there could be a tendency for some people who had a desire to influence other people. This could be because of unresolved psychology that put these people on a power trip. And so you can see people that would come and say, I have a message to you from El Moria, or El Moria told me to tell you this. And what does this do? Well, if the person accepts that their friend actually had a message to them from El Moria, they'll become codependent on their friend. And so you can see many of these unhealthy tendencies. And that's why, as I have said, we as a general rule do not tell people what to do. We do not give people messages through other people. We do not, in this dispensation, tell people what to do through the messenger either. And so the most important thing you can consider for improving your discernment is your intent. And in that respect, it is very important for you to take the teachings we have given now on the birth trauma and the primal self and all the other selves that you develop as a result of this birth trauma. Because these selves all have an intention. And it might be an intention to protect you, to compensate for something, to get validation for something, or whatever it may be. And when you are strongly colored by such a self, you cannot get accurate inner direction, because the self will filter out the inner direction, or it will distort it. I've personally firsthand experienced, obviously we all experience our distorted colored reality, but when you actually are given the eyes to see that, it'll talk about it. So that what comes through the filter will seem to validate the way the self looks at the world based on its programming. So if you have a self, for example, that wants to compensate for the fact that you were put down by the fallen ones by making you feel special, then in most cases you won't be able to tune into the ascended masters. But you might get direction from a lower realm that will validate that you are somehow special, or that you have a special mission, or that you are better than others, or that you have to tell other people what to do. It can take many individual forms. So the most important thing you can do here is to resolve these selves so that you don't have any filter, any intention that you're putting on your own inner direction. That way you will get more accurate inner direction. You will also need to recognize that we have actually talked about before, and as this messenger has described, that it is inevitable that when we give you the concept of ascended masters, you will see us as beings who are outside yourself. And it is inevitable because you are in a lower state of consciousness. You are in a dense realm of the physical. And if we have any value to you, it is because we are not in the physical. We can therefore give you a frame of reference from a higher realm. So it's inevitable that you see yourself as you are here in the physical. We are up there in the ascended realm. And in a sense, we have given you the same concept that your I am presence is not in a physical embodiment. Your I am presence is up there. But you need to recognize here that your I am presence is you. It is a higher part of your own being. So you will hear ascended master students who will say, "Oh, I heard my I am presence and it told me to do this." In other words, they think that there is some external being that gave them a message from outside themselves. But you understand that if your I am presence did this, it would reinforce your sense of separation from your I am presence. And when you ascend, the conscious you merges back into the I am presence. So you overcome separation from your I am presence. And as you grow in consciousness, you also overcome the sense of separation to a higher and higher degree. That is how you become an open door for the presence. So your I am presence is not speaking to you as an external being. If you see it as an external being, it will not be your I am presence that is speaking to you. It will be some lower entity. Because if the I am presence did speak to you that way, it would reinforce the separation. And the last thing the I am presence wants to do is reinforce your sense of separation from it, because that will block your spiritual growth. You have seen some ascended master students who have come to a point where they believed that anything they heard from inside themselves was from their I am presence. But they saw the I am presence as being this external being up there. And they thought they were getting direction from their I am presence, but they were not. They were getting it from some being, usually in the mental realm, that is imposturing as their I am presence. So it is very important to look at your intent. To look at whether you have a separate self that has a particular desire, such as a desire for validation or a desire to feel special or whatever it may be. Because this will block your inner direction and it will block your discernment. Once you start resolving these selves, and especially when you resolve that primal self, you will get a much more accurate inner direction. But it will no longer seem like direction because you just get a sense of vibration And by sensing the difference in vibration from your I Am Presence or an ascended master compared to the vibration of the situation you're facing in the physical, you know what to do. You have that frame of reference, so you can make a more aware decision. It's not that you are following the direction. It's not that you are doing what you're being told. You are making a decision. But because you have that frame of reference in vibration, you can make a more aware decision. And that is what we call Christ discernment. And that was posted October 14th, 2019 by Kim Michaels. That's what I've been doing, y'all. I have been scouring every single day the teachings of the Ascended Masters. I just recently started to get in contact directly working with Jesus, and been doing the invocations and the decrees regularly, and healing my spiritual traumas by using the tools that they give. He has books on it. There's actually a book called How to Healing Your Spiritual Traumas, but the novel that precludes it, I think is the right word for that, precludes it, something, is highly recommended so that you can get a better understanding of everything, instead of just jumping right into the work, the book. My Lives with Lucifer, Satan, Hitler, and Jesus, I think. And that's also by Kim Michaels. So, have fun.